Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast, presents episode 550, Cortana's Reclamation, recorded live on August 18th, 2016. Hello everyone, welcome to Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast. I'm your host, Duststorm.
And I'm your co-host, Godzilla T.
I'm just some other guy in the room.
That's Toa Freak.
Yes, it
is. Hey, welcome back.
It is good to be back.
It's always good to have you back on. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
Have we had you on since we... I think we've had you on once since we did the Hunt the True stuff, right?
No, not at all.
No?
Either that's my fault. Just way too busy at times. But yeah, no, at least the last time I remember was Hunt the Truth. Maybe there was another time, but I can't recall.
Yeah, I think it was for the finality for Hunt the Truth.
Yeah, right. It's like Halo 5 was launching.
Yeah. So it's been a while since you've tread our grounds over here on the podcasting front instead of the video front.
Yep.
But yeah. So looking up, 514 was the last episode you were on. And then you're here for our big 550. It's a pretty decent number. I mean, 500 was big.
1 year away from 500.
Yeah. Well,
we're right on track.
A little bit after the fact.
Well, a little bit. Same month.
Same month. This is true. This is very true. This is only maybe a couple of weeks after our anniversary party from last year. So, still doing pretty good at trying to keep up with doing the 50 episodes a year. Hopefully we can catch up a little bit before we hit 15 years. At least that's kind of the plan. Anyways. But the reason we have Mr. Toa Freak on tonight is we're going to finally talk about what does Halo 5 mean in the whole grand scheme of things of the Halo franchise and the Halo universe. Because we finally finished the campaign, 2 months ago?
Something like that.
Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. It's been so long.
It took so long to get that done. A lot of it's my fault, but I am happy that we're finally done and we're finally at this point where we can kind of talk openly about, at least on this podcast, not to say that we haven't had discussions before or haven't had other discussions.
The rest of the Halo community has been waiting for Podtacular to finish. Like, okay, guys, we can now start talking.
Let the theorizing begin.
Yep. Your Halo, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Podtacular finally got their stuff together and finally got the campaign done.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Only took them 7 months.
Oh my god.
We're moving almost as fast as 343.
Oh.
Shots
Sorry.
fired.
Oh. Dang.
Oh, there goes your sponsorship. You've all been cut. We've been cut off.
We're no longer on the favorite list.
Yep, no.
Dagnabbit.
Hey, now you can finally give your true opinion, right? No longer showing for 343.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I've been so not vocal about that.
No, not at all, dude. You've been like silent and just sucking the... Yeah.
Careful. Careful.
Well, that was close.
Sucking their food nipple. There.
Yeah, there we go.
That was close. Yeah, you didn't hear our podcast last week praising the Rex system and just thinking it's the most wonderful thing ever to happen to the Halo franchise? If you didn't, it's because it's not out yet.
If you were here last week, then you got to hear all about it.
Because it's currently sitting in my folder and it's done. It just hasn't been uploaded yet because this week has been crazy for work and my brain hurts.
Excuses.
Yeah, it's excuses. I won't deny it.
Clearly.
But anyways, back to the topic at hand. We're going to be discussing some Halo 5 theories, at least some of our theories, and kind of consult with kind of the... I don't know, I kind of feel like Toa Freak is the new Grim Brother 1 of the community, at least, because Grim Brother 1 now works for Halo. So I kind of feel Toa Freak, you're kind of that legacy. You're fulfilling his legacy in a sense. At least that's how I see you.
The torch has been passed.
It's very flattering, so hopefully I can fill those shoes.
I think you have. I think you have what it takes. I think you have what it takes. So that's why we have you on. Anyways, some of this Gamescom stuff we're actually going to talk about next week because they haven't really talked much about new stuff. They did show off a new multiplayer map, Rift, and that was on Stronghold. So there's some new gameplay out there if you've seen it and some live stream stuff. And there's some stuff that they released today over on IGN, but I haven't had a chance to review it. And Gamescom is still on for another couple of days. So I think we're going to discuss the Gamescom stuff next week and really just focus on the ending of Halo 5, what does it mean in the grand scheme of things for Halo, what's Cortana up to, what do we think that she's up to, and Toa Freak is here to kind of help make sure that we're not saying anything that's too rambunctious and let us know what the gooey theories are that have been tossed around the internet or the domain rather.
Yeah, I've heard lots of gooey theories.
In the slush theories.
The slush. We're going to wade into the slush.
Poor Mashak.
Oh.
At least he's
that
not
needs
dead.
to be a shirt.
Again. Yeah.
Why is it Mashak on a shirt? We're making this happen. This is going to be the next Podtacular shirt. It's going to be something with Mashak.
There's plenty of great quotes.
The grenades one. I think the grenades one probably fits us best because we have the fragging trucks
under the bed.
Yeah, that's the one I was just thinking of. Why are there grenades under my bed?
If anyone wants to draft up a design, we'll give you commission on the shirts. Get on it. Anyways, we're only 10 minutes into this show and we're already derailed. Anyways, so I guess a little recap for those who may not have played the campaign recently. At the end of Halo 5, Cortana is sending out her guardians to basically enforce peace upon the galaxy. Make everything better, in her opinion.
To take over
but
the world.
But not everyone agrees.
Of course.
On a universal scale, or galactic scale, rather. Not universal, but that's what we need to do. We just need to ship ourselves up to another galaxy.
Yes.
Throw ourselves some cryo for
Andromeda's pretty close, right?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Right around the corner.
How close is Andromeda? I don't remember.
It's if I recall, it's like one of the closest large galaxies that it.
I know it's the closest, but I forget how far away it is. Isn't it like 100-something light years or something like that?
I think it's a few mil. I honestly don't remember. Probably like a few million. I don't know. We're gonna crash into it. In a few billion years. Whatever.
It's far enough away that you'd be pretty well and dead and dried up by the time you got there.
Unless you're in the Mass Effect universe, apparently, but that's another discussion.
So, with Cortana being crazy, taking over everything, that's kind of where we got left off with Halo 5, and I know I've asked the question to Dan Ayub, and both times I kind of been shot down, as is kind of expected, but asking the implications of what we could see Halo 5 within Halo Wars 2, and he's kind of given the answer of, yeah, it's a good question. And they've hinted about there's going to be some crossover, at least, with the Halo 5 story into Halo Wars 2. So we'll have to see where that goes. But this is our chance to theorize and kind of just play around with our thoughts and see what might be possible. So, Mr. Toa Freak, since you are the expert here, what are kind of some of the leading theories of what Cortana is up to with her guardians?
I mean, the basic answer is obviously she's going to try and take control of human space first. But I mean, like, we know that the grunts are allying with her, which I love. The Sangheili are most likely going to resist. I could see the Gerald Hane kind of going either way. The Yanmei, I don't know that they'd really resist. I mean, I don't know why. The Jackals could kind of go either way, really. Like, Cortana could pay them off very handsomely, but on the other hand, once Galaxy's at peace, what room is there for piracy? At least not with the kind of peace Cortana wants to enforce. So,
right, AKA not the good kind.
Yeah. There's some avenues for some very interesting potential choices. If I personally imagine that the Jackals would be, or I should say the Kigyara would be against the created, And, maybe they'd fight alongside humanity. I'd love to see that happen. I think that'd be awesome. But who knows?
So do you think there's going to be that, racial division where it is going to be up to the Sangheili or the Durahane or the Ungwe, or that race will make the decision? Or do you think we'll still see a lot of more faction type stuff within the Covenant? Because at least with Halo Wars 2, we see the Banished, and we see quite a few different factions in Halo 5, so there's still some leftover pieces of the Covenant still there as far as factions are concerned. But do you think that's kind of breaking down now, since that Human Covenant war is over and things are starting to kind of reset? Or do you think there's still going to be lots of factions within the universe? And we've even seen factions as far as human and Covenant relations as well in some of the books.
Yeah, like a great example is the Servants of Abiding Truth from Last Light. Gerald Hana led has humans and KGR, but no, I think we're probably still going to see plenty of factions. The real question, in my mind at least, is whether 343 is going to try and simplify that. Like, worst case scenario, and I use worst case in a very loose way. Worst case scenario, Halo 5 would be the same thing Halo 6 or whatever shooter title is next would be the same thing, would be pretty much the same as kind of a mix between Halo 4 and Halo 5, Prometheans and Covenant species versus humans and Sangheili. And again, that's worse, that's like the simplest thing they could do. But, maybe they'll toss in the Banished as a potential extra enemy, or maybe we'll see Celine Neon's faction come back and try and resist Cortana. It's, depending on the beliefs of the individual Covenant faction, they could kind of go all over the place. Some would want to align, I actually could think that Celine Neon specifically might actually align with Cortana, but who knows? The Banished definitely wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we're going to see multiple factions, not necessarily band together to fight Cortana, but it's probably going to be a multiple point battle.
Yeah, I'd like them to avoid the enemy of my enemy is my friend this time around. It worked well in Halo 3 for sure, but this time I'd like to think that the various factions are going to be like, no, screw any sort of peace. I'm going to take them down, and I'm going to take you down. Kind of like the old school insurrection, fighting the UNSC and Covenant. And even speaking of the insurrection, that's something that I seriously doubt they're going to do this, because they've had so many chances to bring the insurrection in, and they never do. But this would be another great opportunity, either having us fight alongside insurrectionists, or some insurrectionists join Cortana. I can't imagine why they would, since they want, independence. But who knows? Maybe some would. Or you could fight against former any colonies. They're like, it's like, we just want peace, so screw the old UNSC.
I don't know that the insurrectionists, I don't think they would go along with Cortana's plan for very long, at least.
Yeah, like them, but I could see inner colony types wanting to side with Cortana just because it's like they like the peace and order more than anything. So,
there's also the Flood.
The Flood is an interesting one. I don't think we're going to see them in Halo 6, just for the sake of easy reference. We'll call it Halo 6. But I think we might, if they're going to come back, Halo 6 needs to tease the Flood. Assuming Halo Wars 2 doesn't.
Well, the reason I say that is because by the legendary ending of Halo 5, Cortana has control of a Halo ring. We don't know exactly which one yet, but Flood samples were kept on all the Halo rings.
Yep.
So she could use them to her advantage.
That she could.
But the Forerunners never found a solution to the Flood, though, and they never had a chance to catalog, I think, what gave the humans immunity. And I mean, we do have the case of Johnson, but...
Yeah, the immunity is still something that it's still up in the air, because, they talk about it in Halo Cryptum, and then in Halo Primordium, though, the Primordial says, there was no immunity. The Flood was just, had this long-term plan for how to screw over the Forerunners. But But then, it calls into question, why were they ever experimenting on humans in the Palace of Pain? So it could really go either way. And on the point about Johnson, Frankie only recently clarified essentially what it is now is Johnson isn't immune to the flood, but he's resistant. He's more difficult to infect. So, they just, like in Halo CE specifically, they just kind of moved on from him and then infected some others.
So they retconned that too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bungie kind of retconned it first. They wanted to retcon it out of existence. I'm actually thankful that 343 went with a resistance rather than immunity, which that's because it's such a great point in Halo First Strike, that whole moral choice that the chief has to make. But that's another discussion entirely.
There's lots of discussions that could be had.
Yeah,
yeah, lots of.
But I mean, if we want to stay on topic,
well,
right.
We already know that several other AIs ally with Cortana. So what's different about the AIs that don't?
They're not greedy pricks.
The Infinity AI. What's his name?
Roland.
Even with the last cutscene of Halo 5, he had not joined her. He was still fighting against her. There was a line, and this sort of relates. It was in one of the Kilo 5 books, but BB is talking about his role in controlling their ship, their prowler. He can do all this stuff. He can make war with this ship, but he still leaves the decision to humans because it's not his war, which I always found really interesting. He basically put it this way: if AIs ever decided to go to war, it would last a few cycles and they get bored with this and move on to something else because it wouldn't accomplish anything. So, how many more AIs think that way?
I'm sure a good number of them have either thoughts like that or they have their own reasons for not joining Cortana. Because I would be very disappointed if we didn't have AI that were loyal to humanity beyond just Roland, and I'm sure BB would actually stay loyal to humanity just because he hates Cortana anyway.
Definitely, yeah. He would do it just for that reason.
Yeah.
Yep, and that reason alone. Oh, BB.
Yeah, Penn's Halo brings up a good point. I wonder if those that joined Cortana are of a certain age. Like, it could be that those that are joining are exclusively, perhaps, or very mostly the AI that are on the verge of rampancy, or as somewhat far gone, like Governor Sloan was.
Well, some of the AI that spoke in the level were active AI on military vessels.
Yeah, but the thing with rampancy and all that, and the way humans treat AI, there's the 7-year lifespan. But that's not exactly a lifespan. That's just like an average estimate. They're just shut down after 7 years with no regard for whether or not. So there could be AI that are like on the verge of their 7-year lifespan, or maybe they just hit 6 years and they're like, these guys are going to kill me next year. I'm going to join that chick. She's got a good plan.
Yeah, it is a.
But isn't she recruiting also non-smart AIs that don't have that 7-year limitation?
They never said it. They never say, because all the AI that you hear from are definitely smart AI, and I don't know that a dumb AI, because that in that case we're talking like Auntie Dot and the Superintendent as examples from the fiction, from Halo at least, or from the games I should say. I can't imagine that they would have the capacity to really choose in that way.
Well, what about that one AI that what was the one book? It was like a harvester AI and
like Sif and Mac from Contact Harvest. They're both smart AI. They're both smart AI.
They were both smart AIs.
Yeah.
And Loki as well.
And Loki, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they actually make a very big point of discussing that, especially about Sif in Contact Harvest. Now, Deja was not a smart AI, if I remember correctly.
No, she was a dumb AI.
What was Cortana's older sister? What was her name?
Oh, God, I can't believe I forgot it. Kamina? I really can't remember. But she was a smart AI. though for some reason she lived for like 27 years, or not 27, she was around for like 17 years. But she was established as a smart AI.
Yeah, I think she spent a lot of years in storage. I don't think she was active that whole time. Kalmaya, thanks, Pins.
Yeah, so it seems unlikely that she must have been shut down for a period of time in order to be 17 years old, technically speaking.
But it's just kind of interesting to see which AIs are going to join her and which aren't, and how the UNSC military deals with the loss of all these AIs.
Yeah, definitely.
Because their ships are designed to be not necessarily flown by AIs, but a lot of them, the AI handles their point defense, handles ship space calculations, things like that. So it'll be interesting.
So Uncle York was asking, and kind of related to something someone else said in the chat, what about Forerunner AI joining Cortana's cause?
That's actually another good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Warden,
and I guess on top of that, what about Covenant AI?
I don't know that Covenant AI would be, like, for the few that are around, that's a really interesting one, because, like, Cortana could easily trick them into thinking, like, hey, I'm an oracle, so, follow me. But on the other hand, they're basically all dumb AI. Like, I don't even know, like, they seem even dumber than most.
The ones that we've
AI.
encountered so far are copies, well, supposedly copies of human AI. Copies of copies of copies.
See, I've heard that as a theory. I've never actually seen that confirmed anywhere, though.
Yeah, I haven't either. But in the book First Strike, Cortana captures the AI, and it looks extremely familiar. They've never said that it's a copied human AI, but
I figured that it was because it was a copied Forerunner AI, and at that time in the fiction, humans were still Forerunners. So that's kind of what I figured.
It could go that way too. But anyway, as far as Covenant AI, I just really don't know, because the way the Covenant used AI, they were kind of in a dumb AI situation.
Yeah, because the Covenant feared any sort of smart AI. They I don't know how much of the details they knew, but they knew that a smart AI had betrayed the Forerunners. So they had a very strict
bias.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if they had a name specifically and all these how much detail they had, but they did know enough to say, we're never going to make smart AI like that. We'll make some simple AI that can run our point defense and software security on our ships, and that's about it.
Until you got human smart AI coming and hacking you.
Yeah, yeah, right. But then swinging back to, like, the idea of Forerunner AI, this is another interesting one that could go either way, because, like, we have the instance of the Warden Eternal. He turned against the Librarian's intentions, but he seems fairly unique among Forerunner artificial. It's not even clear, like, it's heavily implied that he's actually a composed essence of sorts, so he might be the exception rather than the rule. Whereas you, of course, have Exuberant Witness, who was loyal to humanity to the very, all the way through. So,
well, I think she was her loyalties lied more with the Forerunner and their wishes than to the humans.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And even then, it's like it seemed more like she was. Some of that, at least, was motivated by the fact that Cortana just basically came in, took over her installation. You got that final line in Halo. One of her final lines in Halo 5 is like, "I got control again. So I'm gonna steal your."
I'm going to take something of yours.
Yep, you still took something from me. Now I'm going to take something from you.
I have to admit, they did a really good job on her.
Oh my god, she was fantastic.
They really did.
Most of the other characters in the story, but they did a really good job on her. And I think the bulk of the Forerunner AI are going to be, for lack of a better phrase, immune to Cortana's charms, because she really can't offer them anything that they don't already have. They're already pretty much immortal, so she loses that card. If she could take them over, then how if she could forcibly take them over, how is exuberant floating around the builder world? I think Warden is the exception because of the way he's created or the instructions that he was given.
So, not to completely derail this conversation, and if we need to address this question after wrapping this up, we can. But what does the whole? Well, I'll set up this question, and we can wrap up this conversation and lead up to this question. But there is another thing that I think is on quite a few people's minds. But is the mantle of responsibility really the job of the created, or is it really the job of humanity? Because
it's the job of humanity. It's Cortana is flat
twisting
out,
it.
Yeah, she's purposely twisting it, or the Warden is manipulating her and twisted it in her, her once rampant mind. So, and I mean, like, here's something to think about, because, like, there's this theory going around that's been going around since pretty much day one of Halo 5's launch that, the Cortana we encounter in Halo 5 was one of those rampant fragments. And regardless of whether or not she actually was, I personally don't believe she was, one of the key things with rampancy is that when an AI is going rampant, it's basically they have too many of these, too many connections in their AI matrix. And what they'll do to try and survive is they'll start severing some of the older connections. So, regardless of whether or not Cortana found the domain and that allowed her to expand her AI matrix and make infinite links, equivalent of neural links, essentially. Those old links that she may or may not have severed, depending on how far gone she was, because like I said earlier, the 7-year lifespan isn't a hard deadline; it's just a rough estimate. Yeah. Any damage that would be incurred from that would be permanent, and perhaps even a misinterpretation of the mantle, or even leaving her open to such misinterpretations.
Well, I definitely feel that she's following what she thinks is correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
But where did the idea come from is the real big question.
Yeah, was it something like that? But it definitely came from the Warden to some degree. At least I have to think that. But then I have to wonder, why the Warden suddenly felt this way, which could be something from his past. But another possibility is that it could actually be sourced from Cortana, and that could be in relation to the logic plague, because she spent a lot of time with the Gravemind between Halo 2 and 3. Yeah. Not as long as some more infamous AI that we know, but a good deal long enough that, she even said it when you meet her in Halo 3. It's like, I might not be, it might be too late. The Gravemind was, forgive the term, it was a literal mind rape in many ways, especially if you've read Human Connections from Halo Evolutions. And what the Gravemind does to her, it might as well be that. It could have really with her in ways that are only now becoming evident.
Yeah, I definitely have thought of that possibility before, but there's also, I've kind of been thinking about it too, just off of a whim, maybe some, again, this is just kind of like a complete guess, but maybe some association with the Didact?
It's very possible.
He's the same color.
Yeah, the Warden's a Promethean construct, which really calls into question his whole title of Protector of the Domain, but, at least in my opinion. But,
well, and then how do you have a Protector of the Domain if the domain was lost to the Forerunners?
Well, I mean, he would have predated that, but even then, like the way the domain is described in the Forerunner saga, the idea of a protector like that just seems so weird to me. I certainly wouldn't be surprised because we might even see this in Tales from Slipspace, since apparently we're going to learn how Cortana found her way into the domain. So maybe we'll see what happened with her and the Warden in those early moments. But right around the time Cortana would have found the domain, the Didact was composed by his irregular composition. So maybe somehow found his way into the domain and got lost in the Warden network, for lack of a better word. So who knows?
Yeah, I'd like to know how the domain is suddenly back around again.
My own theory on that is simply that it was never actually gone. And like they kind of confirmed that partly in the intel in Halo 5. It's like it wasn't gone, it was just really badly damaged. And the reason it was inaccessible is because there were no longer these precursor artifacts that to, for lack of a better word, broadcast it across the galaxy. And any Forerunner tech had basically been shut off. Or any Forerunner tech that could take the place of those precursor artifacts was shut off, such as the node on Genesis. So it took somebody finding the domain in slipspace, which we know there's this connection to the domain and slipspace from the Forerunner saga. So Cortana had to, that was like the only way that Cortana could get in there from that, and maybe because she was on part of the Didact ship, which had once been programmed or whatever to be able to access the domain, or have some connection to it.
The way they describe it in Halo 5 is parts of the Didact ship, when it detonated, were thrown into slipspace.
Yeah, it attempted. It's basically the same thing that happened with Installation 04 in Halo Nightfall. The attempted emergency slipspace jump, but only a fraction of it gets through, is basically what happens. So
it poses an interesting question, and I think it's just kind of one of those
things we're going to have to wait and see. I'm really hoping that Fractures and Tales from Slipspace will answer a lot of this. It's been implied that that the Warden will make an appearance and we'll get some details on him in at least one of those anthologies, and I'm really hoping the implications are true on that. But we'll have to see.
Oh, definitely. I definitely want more information on the Warden, where his origins are, why he was created, because from what we know so far, Horispus was the guardian of the domain.
Yeah, like that's another thing that bothered me, is like you already had Horispus, so to me it seems like the Warden has a stronger connection to the Guardians rather than the domain itself.
And I think, going back to the whole mantle question, yes, I think humanity is supposed to assume the mantle, but I don't think they will follow it the way the Forerunners did.
That'd probably be for the best, since the Forerunners perverted the hell out of it.
Oh, yes. In the way, and this is the way Cortana's looking at it as well, is an enforced peace. Well, that she's basically wanting to enslave the entire galaxy, because that is the only, in her mind, the only way that she can stop, all these bad things from happening, is the threat of annihilation. And I heard somebody bring up the point on a video today or yesterday, sometime this week, where why is Cortana on a Halo ring? She would probably never fire it, but is it a nuclear deterrent?
Yeah, that was Hidden Xperia, I believe. This is the one Halo channel I follow that talked about it. But it could be a nuclear deterrent of sorts, but in Halo Escalation, the next 72 hours story arc, issues 8 through 10, the Didact was trying to basically reconfigure the Halo to fire like a composition wave rather than a death wave. So maybe Cortana is going to try and retune the Halo to fire a different kind of harmonic wave, whatever you want to call it. Be that a composition wave, because some of her dialogue in Halo 5 kind of indicates that those that resist are going to be are going to be composed. But maybe there's other uses the Halo could have. In Halo 4, they talk about about the Index having secondary and tertiary functions. The primary function would be activate the Halo, but then there's secondary and tertiary functions. One of those would just be would be obviously keeping samples of indexed life, but what could a potential tertiary be? Who knows? Maybe that's what Cortana's going after.
Maybe a reseed. So instead of wiping out the galaxy of all life, it does the opposite effect?
I don't know necessarily that it would be able to do that, but
yeah, I would think that with the destruction, or I should say severe damage that's been done to the Ark, and the fact that we assume all their samples were spent 100,000 years ago when the Halo rings were fired the first time.
Well, their live samples were, but they still have other samples that can be used to recreate the life as it was indexed 100,000 years ago.
Right. But is the capability still there? I mean, it's one thing to have the information, but
I'd say so, just because there was wildlife on the Ark in Halo Hunters in the Dark, and there only could have been if it was re-engineered.
Right, on the Ark. But I mean, as far as the resources to repopulate other worlds.
I mean, they had a healthy population of all these animals. I don't see why you couldn't do something like that with intelligent life. Though that does call into question why Tragic Solitude couldn't just make a human for herself, unless it was just something that only a reclaimer could do. So
protocol.
There could be, well, yeah. I don't know. It could be she plans to detonate the halos and reseed all the worlds. If a life form never knows freedom,
I mean, that's certainly one way to do it.
Then they don't know what they're missing.
And it's Cortana's plan. She does talk about when she captures the chief, 10,000 years. And most life forms in the galaxy don't have their lifespan is pretty comparable to humans. Singhali maybe live maybe twice as long as humans, but do you really need 10,000 years to subjugate the galaxy? Or
I think if it's referred to in that context, I'm thinking an evolutionary chain. I mean, definitely she would have the capability to mess with genetics and things like that, but
I mean, the stuff that she'd be able to recreate would be at least as advanced as it was 100,000 years ago, and she could potentially kind of smarten them up with the help of the domain, perhaps. Who knows? I
would think that it would be either easier to subjugate a primitive population and have them evolve just accepting their limitations than have an existing population like there currently is that already knows that what is happening is not right. So there's just there's a myriad of things she could be doing, and we don't have any clue.
Don't we still run into the issue, though? Because there was never any Forerunner AI that didn't hit rampancy, whether or not they actually did live thousands of years. But we haven't seen a Forerunner AI be immune to rampancy either, right?
Exuberant. I wouldn't exactly call her rampant.
She's
angry, yes.
I call it like the unique Forerunner kind of brand of rampancy, or very early onset, because she's definitely eccentric, beyond like what she should be as a monitor. But even then, most of those Forerunner AI that survived those 100,000 years weren't plugged directly into the domain with infinite space to expand. So,
well, even with the stories for 343 Guilty Spark, he took basically 1,000-year naps. So, he would leave the Halo to its automated systems for hundreds or thousands of years while he rested, or whatever you want to call it, puts himself in stasis. The AI in Last Light, she was doing what she was designed to do. She was protecting the Forerunner facility.
Oh yeah, she definitely wasn't rampant, no.
But she's been around for just as long as the rest of them.
Yeah, but she wasn't active for the whole time. She was largely inactive.
So could be plenty of Forerunner AIs that have been just in stasis.
Yeah.
Still out there. Something that's kind of interesting, and I didn't think of it until I just mentioned that. How is she going to play into this?
That's a very good question, if she even will, since that story took place in 2553, and last we saw, she was heading towards Requiem, which, when I first read that, actually made me think too, because we know that that 343 Guilty Spark, he's on, or Chakas, he's on the UNSC Rubicon. And last we heard from him, he was talking about finding the Life Shaper. Now that could mean two things. One, they could be talking about, he could have mistakenly found Chantagreen, or one of her descendants, who took on the title of Life Shaper, passed down, and he's headed off to Path Chthona or wherever to find her. Or maybe he's thinking about, he found the librarian AI on Requiem. So maybe him and I can't remember the name of the AI from Last Light, but maybe those two will meet up since they're possibly heading to the same destination.
By the time that they found 343 Guilty Spark, let's see, when did that take place? I thought Requiem had been destroyed by then.
No, that was around 2553 to 54. It's not exactly clear, but well before Requiem's destruction or even its discovery.
Well, that begs the question: where are they?
Well, regardless of anything, they were headed out from the Ark on a human ship made in 2553. Even with some Forerunner upgrades, we're talking at least 160 light years from the edge of the galaxy, and we don't even know where in the galaxy Requiem actually was. So,
well, I think, it's possible, but it's going to be. I want to know if those two are going to play a part in this.
I certainly hope so. I was disappointed that Spark didn't appear in Halo 4, let alone Halo 5. He's got to come in.
Yeah,
and if they're going to bring him in, I would like to see the AI from Last Light come in too, just because we know that she's out there.
Her last line was, she knows what she needs to do. She needs to prepare the human race to assume the mantle. In what way does she want to prepare us, or prepare the human race, or prepare for them assuming the mantle, or something like that? It's been too long since I read the book, but something along those lines. And she's had several years, and of course, there hasn't been any other fiction that has come out with her. So, I wish Tales was out already.
Maybe not Tales.
That and Fractures.
I was going to say Fractures is the one.
Oh yeah, Fractures. Oh.
And then the Halo Mythos that
Intrepid
Grim has
Eye,
been
that's
teasing
her name.
all week.
Yes.
Oh my God, Grim. I'm sorry about that again. Yeah.
I've been almost on the verge of blocking him.
I wouldn't blame you.
Stop teasing. But it comes out soon.
Yes,
comes
it
out
does.
in what, 3
For the
weeks?
United States, our friends over in Britain the publisher is releasing it in October over there. They get to
Wah,
wait.
wah.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm debating on whether to pre-order it now on Amazon or wait to see if it'll be at PAX.
Actually, I hadn't considered that. That'd be interesting if it was, because it comes out the day after PAX.
The date? I thought it was 2 days after.
No, because PAX ends on September 5th, right? The Monday.
Oh, yeah, because it's Monday. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right. Frickin' Monday.
Fine by me. I'm using the day off to get back to Illinois, so I'll take the next day off.
Right.
Monday.
Yes.
Monday. Labor Day. Ba-ba-ba-bum. For those not in the U.S., Labor Day is a holiday, federal holiday for us in the States, and it's the first Monday of September.
Yeah, I've got to find out if I'm going to have to work that day. Got to ask the boss if we're going to be open or closed.
Might be an important thing to find out.
If we're closed, 3-day weekend. Bonus!
Hallelujah.
Yay! I get a weekend because I'm taking off.
Yeah, hopefully next year I'll be able to join you.
That would be fun. So much fun. And hopefully it will be a lead up to Halo 6.
Hopefully.
Well, if they do the 3-year dev cycle, which I think they should do,
I'd honestly
we'll see
be fine if
probably
it took
our
4
first
years.
look.
Yeah, as long as they don't do like they did with the Master Chief Collection, or with Halo 5, put a teaser out there 2 years before they plan on releasing it.
Well, no, that wasn't for Halo 5. That was for Halo on Xbox One, the continuation of the Reclaimer saga.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
That's why it had a Guardian in it, and that's why it had Master Chief in it. Sure.
And they had the 5 shadow in the sand. And
That's because it was originally going to be a Halo 5 trailer, but they changed it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just
But
saying.
It still
wasn't for
teased
Halo.
Halo 5. I don't care what they decide.
It teased the continuation of the Reclaimer saga. That's what it teased.
after the fact.
2 years before they decided to continue it.
Yeah, and Halo 2 was teased 2 years before they decided to continue it, so?
Anyways, back on topic with the Halo 5.
Halo 4 was teased 2 years early, too. No, actually, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. Scratch that. Sorry.
Enough with the teasing already.
That's what they usually do with the Halo stuff. Is they'll present it 2 years to a year and a half or so in advance. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something for Halo 6 next year at E3 or somewhere.
Maybe it'll be the same thing, but with Blue Team. It still looks like the Ark to me.
So is there anything else, I guess, to really glean from all this? I know I still have a couple more things to kind of bring up, but as far as the Forerunner AI idea, is there anything else that we can kind of think of? So we kind of talked about
bring in mendicant bias.
monitors.
He'd be the perfect foil for Cortana. Or bring in offensive bias. And then Halsey can hack them. Because that's a thing now.
Down, boy, down. Settle.
So why don't you go into that a little bit?
I do totally agree with you, by the way, Toa.
Because I haven't read that part of the comic yet, and there's probably some other people listening to this that don't, or are at least not aware of this. So
so Halo Escalation issues 19 through 24.
So volume 3, basically.
Pretty much, yeah, or volume 4.
That's right.
Yeah, they finally get to the absolute record, and then Palmer, Tanaka, Glassman all sneak on board one of Joel's ships and follow them to the absolute record. And then Halsey and Glassman have to face off in a battle to decide, not a battle, but like a test to decide who gets to control the absolute record. And Halsey hacks a contender class AI. Because why wouldn't a human, granted the smartest human, but why wouldn't a human be able to hack one of the most powerful pieces of technology the Forerunners ever created? That makes sense, right? That's not stupid as hell.
Well, the librarian did place seeds, so you never know.
Yeah, no.
It took the Gravemind 43 years to get into Mendicant Bias's head. He could have just bypassed that. He would have. It was literally written to write out the Spartan Ops storyline.
Yeah, and they could have taken that so much further.
Oh my god, they could have.
I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's like, just imagine this. Imagine this. Get rid of the domain. Replace the domain with the absolute record. Get rid of Cortana coming back and make the villain Halsey. She's starting she's awakening the Guardians and starting the Reclamation. You wouldn't have to change any other aspect of the story except maybe the opening mission. And then Joel could remain alive. So, and hell, you could even keep the opening mission, have Joel survive. Halsey comes back to the UNSC, but then it turns out she just, used them to get to some place she had to go, or for reasons or whatever. And that she's the bad guy, and she still calls Blue Team to her because they're her last surviving Spartans that she knows of, except for Naomi. But whatever, it's less of a plot hole than some of the other shit. So, yeah,
Black Team,
not plot hole. That's just infuriating. But no, then you can have basically the same story, but not so infuriating for a lot of people.
I tell you what, people would have probably been a lot less pissed off about the story.
Yeah. And I mean, I could see Halsey declare, specifically, she could just say, look, I want to initiate the Reclamation, ascend humanity, and I want to wipe out the UNSC, but just the UNSC and Oni, because, they tried to kill me and they're bastards. So,
specifically Palmer.
Because she hates me for no reason.
If you want to bring Cortana into the story, while she's digging through the absolute record, she finds a way to search slip space in some fashion, and explain the reconstitution of Cortana better. Not just, I fell out of the sky and I found this planet.
Yeah, or even better, they could. It would have been so simple in the last few issues of Escalation to just have Halsey looking over the absolute record stuff and then finding this hint of the domain and this hint of Cortana and maybe even something on Kamchatka specifically explaining why she and Jewel are there. It would have been so easy. They didn't do it Because that would make sense. And you can't have that. You can't have nice things.
What's that?
Exactly. Oh, Palmer and Halsey are all okay now? That's fine.
Yeah,
Did you ever hear the reason about that behind that, Dusty?
No.
Basically, Palmer is suddenly fine with I keep wanting to say Cortana for some reason. She's fine with Halsey now because Halsey up with her play at the absolute record. So it's like, oh, I overplayed my hand once and now Halsey did, so it's cool. We're cool now. It's not like you can't just have Palmer be more professional in Halo 5. God forbid.
Okay.
They got to give her some BS reason. But of course, they started an arc, so they wanted to try and finish it.
Yeah, let her kill Halsey. That'll finish it. It's not like they haven't killed off a character before. The beginning missions, it crushed me to see them kill off Julam Dama in the first mission. Because as bad as he was a good character.
I never really liked him.
Not a great character, a good character.
I wouldn't even call him a good character, but I'm still sore over Kilo 5, so...
Yeah, well.
Some Immortal Dictata should have been dedicated to finishing their setup for Jewel, because I don't feel it was finished in Thursday War.
No, it wasn't. It definitely needed more development. And that's why I was really sad to see him kill it.
Yeah, he was never in Halo 4's campaign, and it shocked me when he died, but at this point I just don't really care anymore. I'll be honest. Like, everyone says they wanted to see... I can't imagine him being a good boss battle if they were intent on killing him in the first level and letting you do it. I just find it would have been boring. I can't imagine him surviving and go. He never would have faced off against the Arbiter. He's nowhere near the Arbiter's level. Is another one that people put out there, but
well, yeah, definitely not.
There have been some good ideas for how to put him on a redemption arc, especially with the created storyline going on that I've seen that are pretty spectacular. So,
and I've heard a lot of people say this, that they didn't set up the return of Cortana at all, and they did a little bit in the first couple of missions. I've heard people say, well, Cortana just comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, everybody knows about her. Well, if you listen closely to the dialogue in the first mission, Halsey contacts Infinity 3 weeks before that mission takes place.
I think the issue people have is that they don't set her up in anything prior to Halo 5. Yeah, I'll definitely agree. Like, going back and replaying Halo 5, the first mission, especially if you find the intel after playing through it the first time, it's like, oh wow, there's actually a lot of hints at Cortana here beyond the dream. Even before the dream sequence in the second level. It's
almost a subliminal. Yes, story. You really have to pay attention and listen to the environment and the dialogue, and kind of look around at the maps. There are hints there. Granted, going into Halo 5, you pretty much already knew that Cortana was coming back just by some of the trailers that have gone out.
Yeah, just not to the extent that it ended up being. For weeks, ever since that first reveal, I kept saying, no, that's not actually Cortana. It's the Chief's visualization of the domain telling him something. He just sees it as Cortana. But I was wrong.
And I kind of thought the same thing until, we got closer to the launch of the game, and I'm like, that's Cortana. They brought Cortana back. And I was happy and sad all at the same time, especially when I got to the end of the campaign. I was really sad. But I can't wait to see where they go with this. I just hope they stick with it and they resolve it completely, and not the Julam Dama ending. You built the story. You told a story. It wasn't what you advertised, but you told it anyway. They need to expand on that and finish it out. And if they do, I think it will be a really, really good story. Not everybody's going to like it, because it puts, one of our most beloved characters in a bad light.
No, you just can't understand the nuance.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And I hope that there is some redemption in there for Cortana, where
I'll be honest, I hope there's not, but sorry, go ahead and finish.
I don't know if the community can handling 343 killing Cortana again.
Well, they better, because if Cortana, like, if she gets redeemed and then becomes a good guy, even if it's like for like 2 seconds again, that's gonna piss me off. Because in my mind, this is not Cortana. Like the Cortana that we saw, that we loved as a character from Halo 1 up to Halo 4, she died in Halo 4. The Cortana we got in Halo 5, she was born from that Cortana, but it's not that Cortana in a metaphorical sense. As the chief said, she changed. So if she becomes good again, then that old Cortana truly has come back, and I am not going to be a fan of that. So it's obviously my personal opinion, but I want to see the Chief Crusher in his gauntleted fist. I want him to fulfill the Warden's prophecy.
Yeah, I definitely want to see a good battle between the two, and I want it to be a meaningful story. I mean, we've gotten Chief starting to show more emotion now that he doesn't have Cortana floating around in his head all the time to, describe to us or to imply what he's feeling or what he should be feeling or what she's feeling. So the problem is Chief's kind of getting wrote out of the story.
A little. Not real. I mean,
he only had 3 missions.
He's only had 3 missions, but him and Blue Team are still the central focus of Halo 5.
Of Halo 5, I'm talking Halo 6.
Now, Halo 6, I don't think they'll have like as little of them. At least I hope not. What concerns me more is bringing out the character of Blue Team for Halo 6. So
yeah, it's just, what are you going to do with the human characters and how they're going to react with or interact with the AI characters is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Especially
with this conflict. Shaping up to be a pretty good story if they write it correctly.
It very well could be. Like, one big thing that really concerns me, and this is one reason I'd love Medicant Bias to come in, is if they don't do it right. Like, we're fighting Forerunners, like almost like height of power Forerunner tech at this point. It was like everything up to now, Sentinels, even the Prometheans. This was end of the Empire. This was the waning days. The technology of those waning days, for the most part. Guardians are like Forerunners in their prime, even if they're like giant EMP machines and little else, assuming that's what they are. I'm worried that in order to fight them, they're gonna severely underpower what the Forerunners were capable of. But if they bring in Mendicant Bias, that'd be a good way to counteract Cortana and give humanity and the Sangheili a fighting chance without severely nerfing the hell out of the Forerunner tech that is available.
So is Mendicant Bias still around?
That could actually go either way, because at the very end of Halo 3 in the terminals, it seems like he assumes that he's at the end of his life. He's like, at the end of my life, I betray another master, yada, yada, yada. But there's so much development for him in the Forerunner saga, along with the Flood, that it seemed, especially to a lot of the people I always talked to back in in those days and even now, that it seemed like they were planning to bring him back. Maybe we completely misread that, but that's what I got when I was reading that stuff. So, and I know that's what a lot of other people got.
It's one of those, it's not confirmed until it's really, 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 really confirmed.
It's not confirmed until the game's out and he's there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
We're going back to the Ark for the 3rd time in Halo Wars 2. And just what I'd like to see 343 to do regarding Mendicant Bias specifically, even if he's not in the main story, just confirm whether or not he's dead or alive. Just confirm that, if nothing else. So that either we can look forward to his return proper, or we can stop getting hung up on him.
Yeah. I mean, they could even maybe find his databases. Something like that in the story.
Oh, and, something like that would be cool.
For one, that would give us our closure that we know that he has been dead, killed, whatever. But they still have the ability to have the information. So that that would be a good good way to bring him into the story and also end that particular line of story as far as him actually being in the game as an entity.
Yeah.
Brings up some interesting thoughts about some of the other AIs that we've seen, though, throughout at least like the Forerunner trilogy and some of the other stuff, too. Because we haven't really, I guess, explored too much of the Forerunner version of smart AIs as far as like mendicant bias, and then what was the other one?
Offensive
Offensive
bias, yes.
Yeah, but I thought there was another one too that had been mentioned before that wasn't necessarily offensive bias in the
As far as the
Forerunner
contender
trilogy.
class,
Yeah.
the only other one I know is the one in the escalation comics.
Yeah, there's only been 3 confirmed contender class AIs. We know there's probably more than that, but only 3 have ever been featured in the fiction overall.
Well, wasn't mendicant and offensive actually considered Medarch level?
Yeah, they were both Medarch contender class, whatever.
Well, I thought there was an actual separation between those two.
There actually is. You're right. Both are all 3 are contender. I just don't know.
Well, I think the distinction is the amount of power each one is given as far as accessibility to Forerunner systems.
Well, I think Medarchs were, probably a lower class. They are a class of AI.
Yes. Well, I thought I would think the Medarchs would be a higher class for the simple fact they were given the authority to control all of the Forerunner defenses. And that's what made Mendicant such a threat.
Well, according to Halopedia, they say the most advanced level of Medarch were the contender classes, because the contender, which makes sense, because the contenders were meant to be the most powerful AI the Forerunners had ever created. So
apparently they never met Halsey.
Yeah, apparently not.
Apparently the librarian did a very good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sense some enthusiasm in there.
Sure, right.
That's a word for it.
So I guess the last question I have. Well, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna put one other thing out there that I kind of have a question about. Kind of like my last big question, but does the librarian's planning and whole seeding thing that we got in Halo 4 and through the Forerunner trilogy, does that still kind of apply here, or is Cortana basically just kind of screwing that over?
I think that's kind of gone out the window when it comes to the AI portion.
Yeah, Cortana's going against the librarian's intent, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think that was part of the librarian's plan.
Nope.
Because she was grooming the human race to replace the Forerunners.
Take their intended destiny.
So it's probably a pretty good assumption that the Cortana that we're seeing is indeed a fragment.
It wouldn't really matter whether it was the full Cortana. Like, it's obviously not the full Cortana, because a part of her there was the part of her that actually had to say goodbye to the chief. That wouldn't have gotten sucked into slip space, but at worst, it's the majority of Cortana, so it might as well be the full Cortana.
I really wish they'd have done a better job at explaining that. I mean, we know at the end of Halo 4 that she splits herself off into the ship,
different pieces,
into a lot of different pieces to take down the Didact shield, which that doesn't make sense, but anyway.
It's basically hers. The corrupt versions go into the system and
overloading it, basically.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I guess
it's the Forerunner equivalent of a DDoS attack.
Pretty much.
Mantle's approach got DDoSed.
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry.
Well, I guess that's like when copies of Cortana overrode the unyielding Hierophant. The copies of the copies of the copies of the copies.
Oh, God. Good times.
I guess that's probably the same approach there, but
more or less.
There were a lot of pieces of Cortana in Mantle's approach when it went boom. There was an active slip space portal when it went boom, because that's how they explained the Didact surviving. He went into slip space.
Right.
Though, unlike with Cortana, we actually got to see that in the game.
Which doesn't really going into escalation doesn't explain how the hell he got composed, because supposedly he was immune to being composed.
Oh, you didn't hear? It's because it was it's a special case.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking about that.
Yeah, I don't even think we're dealing with just one piece, I think, but I don't think we're dealing with a majority either.
We'll find out. And by the end of next month, I think it is. I don't know. I can't remember exactly when Tales from Subspace is coming out, but that's where it's going to be explained, apparently.
Hopefully.
Not even hopefully, they confirmed it. So it's a question of whether it'll be satisfying. And I have hope. It's Frank O'Connor, and the guy's got a good track record for his personal contributions, especially when it comes to dealing with AI.
Cool. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this time. I'm sure we'll be back here whenever we get some new books out, and we have a few books that we haven't quite covered here on
soon.
Yes, very soon. Very soon. And we've got some other books that we haven't discussed on this podcast yet, but we'll probably do a kind of wrap up of a couple of them for whenever we decide to do a book show. But until that time, Toa Freak, thank you for coming on our podcast once again to discuss lore stuff. It's always fun having you on.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always.
Hopefully we'll be doing some more lore stuff as we kind of get towards Halo 2, because at least the Halo Wars kind of setting, at least from the first game, has been a lot more lore focused. So we'll hopefully get some cool stuff out of that. And then, of course, as we have Tales from Slipspace and Fractures coming out, along with Mythos, probably get some good discussions on that stuff too. So maybe we'll be seeing you a little bit more often.
I'd definitely be willing to come back on, especially for like Mythos and some of the stuff later this year.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Why don't you go ahead and plug your stuff so people can find you if they don't know where to find you already?
Well, you can find me at youtube.com/HaloCanon. That's HaloCanon. So not canon like a cannon, but canon like biblical canon. If that wasn't clear.
There you go.
Over-explaining. It's what I do.
And you're good at it. No comment? Okay.
Sorry.
And you're also on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm at Twitter at Toa_Freak, TOAFREAK. And then Facebook.com/HaloCanon, all one word.
There you go. Cool. All right, and you can find more of us on plenty of social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we are also on Twitch. For those listening to us live, hi. For those not listening to us live, we record on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we have another thing that we do on Fridays, which is our game nights, hosted by Mr. DT. And he hosts those at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Fridays. So you can come check us out over on our Twitch stuff there. And we also have Discord. That's where you can come chat with us and share some cool Halo moments or some funny links, videos, all that kind of fun stuff. So for any and all of those things, if you do podtacular.com/whatever, if we have it, it'll take you there. So /Twitter, /Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord, they all work. They will all redirect you where they need to go. Also /company for our Spartan company, which is full at the moment. So we are not taking anyone else on unless we have some inactive members that are kind of cropping up. But yeah, for the time being, our Spartan company is full. Sorry about that. We got a lot of traffic after the community status episode, which has gotten quite a bit of feedback, which is good.
Yeah. I'm really glad that everybody's talking about it and enjoyed the show.
Yeah, me too. And funny thing is, I've seen a couple YouTube videos pop up after that podcast came out also.
I've seen 4.
4 of them, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
One of them was an apology.
Oh, the late night gaming one?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it was necessarily because of, I take that back. We actually have one spot left, so I'll go and accept somebody.
Woohoo!
Quickly get those
Somebody's
requests
gonna
in.
get lucky!
Oh, we have requests that are standing by, so
Shh, no, you don't.
I'm just requesting them in the order that they were received. or accepting them in the order that they were received. So now there are four pending requests to join, and we are full once again.
Flood their inbox.
But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, not trying to toot our own horn or anything, but it seemed like there was a lull for a while, and then after we posted our show, more YouTube videos popped up. Not saying it was us that did it, but there's some kind of correlation there, I think. Yeah, right?
It would be awful coincidental if it wasn't.
Right.
Halo and coincidences don't go together very well.
Well, the nice thing about it is it got people talking, not arguing about it.
That's always good.
And all the videos that I watched were somewhat positive in the fact that they weren't just hammering on the community. They were expressing opinion in mostly a good way. A lot better than a lot of the videos I'd seen before the podcast, where there was a lot of anger and hate in what was said. Not necessarily words, just the inflection put behind those words. So if it was us that made a positive change to it, that's great. It's great that there was a positive change, whether we were responsible for it or not. So it's a lot of good. I like the amount of good that came out of it. And, we got our opinions out in the open too. So.
Yep. I think I'm actually going to extract just the discussion bit of that episode and put up as a separate YouTube video. So I might do that. But you can check that out, which is episode, I believe, 546. It'll be in our feed still, and you can also download it straight from our website, podtacular.com. So make sure you go check it out. Back on company stuff, there's a little update. We are 2 commendations away from our Achilles armor. 2. Just 2 of them. Anyone want to take a guess what they are?
I'm guessing Spartan Charge and Headshot.
You got one of them right. Headshots was one.
Oh, we completed Spartan Charge?
We completed Spartan Charges, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't tell me what the rec packs are for, and I haven't looked recently. I'm a bad person.
It's all good. We have 78,205 out of 90,000 for our headshots. And then the other one is grenade kills. And we have 10,308 out of 12,000 for that.
Oh, that's pretty close. Get out there and throw grenades.
I have a feeling within 2 to 3 weeks, by the time PAX is done, we will probably have the armor, would be my guess.
That'll be cool.
Again, make sure you check us out on all that stuff, and make sure you check out the podcast network. It is the network that we are part of, which includes other podcasts like Guardian Radio, Critscast, The Learning Cliff, Work in Progress, and How to Murder Time. And you can find out more about each one of those shows over at thepodcast.com, which is thepodcast.com, or you can do podka.st for short. And that will redirect you. You can find out more about all the shows, what they cover, and just be able to dive into some other good quality podcasts that we enjoy. So make sure you go and check them out. Also, if you haven't ordered the Loot Crate by now for the Halo Legendary Crate, you've missed out on the first one, but that doesn't mean that you can't get future crates from here on out. If you have an interest or an inkling to check it out, you can head on over to lootcrate.com/podtacular and use the coupon code Podtacular to get $3 off your very first crate. And a little secret, it actually applies for any subscription. So if maybe you're not into getting the Halo crate, but maybe you want to do a Loot Anime or a Loot Gaming or just a regular Loot Crate subscription, if you just are all up interested and haven't even done Loot Crate before, you can use the discount code Podtacular and you'll get $3 off your first crate.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. So next week, I don't think we have anything specifically planned on the agenda, but the week after, we'll be in Seattle. So we'll probably be doing a podcast from there during the weekend. So we will not have a live stream show on that Thursday, but we will be recording a show. It'll probably be a massive group of people that we will do it with, but there will be a show.
It'll be incoherent as hell.
Depends on who we get on the show, but yes, there is potential for that, for sure. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some of you guys next week. hopefully we'll see some of you guys at PAX West. If you are going to PAX West, feel free to hit us up. We will be having goodies to give away, such as wristbands, stickers, buttons. Let me see if I can order lanyards in time, because I've been forgetting to do that for the past couple of weeks, so I don't know if I can order them in time. I know, I'm so bad. I think I have 2 or 3 spare ones lying around, but I need to order more anyways, so do that, and hopefully they'll come in time. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I have 2 weeks still. Hopefully that's enough time, but we'll see what happens. So again, Toa Freak, thank you again for coming on. It has been a pleasure as always, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Look forward to it.
Awesome. So we will see you guys later. Keep on fragging Cortana, because you know she's not on their side anymore, and she needs a good fragging.